Ladies and gentlemen, knights and knaves, welcome to episode 2 of Buhurt Breakdown. 1v1 for Russki! Yeah, excellent! Well, and the first thing we're going to do is put down the vodka and actually bog down because we're going to have a look at how Russian athletes do it at Battle of Nations. This episode is brought to you by the wonderful people, in conjunction with the wonderful people, with the Battle of Nations. Here is a wonderful logo. Battle of Nations is a fantastic festival and tournament. It's been held in the Czech Republic for the last 2 years. If you haven't been there, go to the next one. I highly recommend it. We have teams all over the world competing for the best prizes and stuff. But anyway, let's have a look at some Russian one-on-ones, if that is the thing that interests you. And we're gonna roll back a little bit to 2014 and Battle of Nations when it was held in Croatia and Turkey, and we're gonna have a look at Sergei Okolov versus Mykola Eveninov, and we're gonna have a look at how they fight, and we're gonna today, as I said, be focusing on the Russian styles and just check out what makes them better than most people, because the Russians win a lot of one-on-ones and they're really good. So off we go. So here we got in the white Sergei Okolov versus his opponent from Ukraine 1. This is we're gonna start a little bit early and go through the ages. So we're gonna start with 2014, and of course Battle of Nations first round of duels is of course Longsword, and I think this video I will mostly focus on that. So very aggressive start from Ukrainian, and I would immediately like to note two things about this matchup. As first, you can see we're fighting in a pretty huge list here, so we've got a lot of space for our fighters to move around. And of course we're going to see the Russian fighter, Russia 1, Sergei Okolov, use all that nice space to his advantage. As we can see, the Ukrainians being very aggressive and attacking him, and Sergei Okolov is a master of keeping good distance with his longsword technique, so you can constantly see him stepping back and just shutting down those aggressive strikes by his Ukrainian opponent, and just trying to block most of these things with those low guards and try and parry and strike back on the helmet. As you can see, of course, the name of the game in one-on-ones is to score more points, and Sergei Okolov is just there, just trying to hit the helmet. Again, he's always backing out. Look, he's even beckoning his opponent to come forward a little bit there. But he's always he's a master of his own distance. He just steps back and invites the Ukrainian fighter to do his thing. And every single time, the Ukrainian fighter is pretty much just shut down straight away. And Sergei Okolov is running back and riposting, because the Ukrainian fighter is also spending a lot more energy than Sergei Okolov here. Which is quite important one-on-ones, because this is the first of 3 rounds. He does get a little bit out-muscled there, but it's only 1 point, and I think from that straight away we can see that Russia 1 fighter is clearly well ahead of the game already. And if we continue watching the fights, again we will see the Russian fighter control his distance really, really well here. He's not going to let that Ukrainian fighter come close. He's very good with his blocking technique, with those nice low blocks, and very good at that block and swinging around to the head from his guard. So I would urge everybody to try and practice that at home and make a drill of it, of just parry and riposte, to try and practice those drills. I think Sergei Okolov is taking the top of his game, and of course Ukraine 1 fighter is also showing a very strong appearance here. He's very aggressive, he's very fast, and certainly these are the best one-on-one fighters in the world in 2014 duking it out, and you can really see that Ukrainian school one-on-one fighting is also very, very strong, but I do think Sergei Okolov manages to get the better of him. So why Russian is really good at one-on-one? Point 1, keep your distance and control your distance, control your space, and just shut down your opponent. It's interesting. So today I think I am going to mostly focus on the Longsword tournament part of the Battle of Nations duels, because Battle of Nations duels is of course is of 3 parts. First of part is of course Longsword, and then Sword and Buckler, followed by Sword and Shield, and the techniques for these types of competition are quite different. So I think today we're just going to look at some of the concepts utilized in Longsword and generally throughout all the duels. Alright, next fight, because time is short and we don't want to get bored. So we have next up the female category, 2015, Tatiana Guseva versus Galina Kovakova. I'm terribly sorry if I'm pronouncing your names not quite correctly. So we will see that the actual Russian school of fighting extends across all genders, and of course their fighters are top notch. And we'll see these girls go at each other with longsword. Again, I'd like to point out straight away that we have a start to the match, and both the Russian fighters are using a very good reactionary style where they're just keeping that distance where they're comfortable and where they control anything. The girls here are using a little bit more of a longer stance than Sergei Okolov, with their longsword extended in front of them slightly more, so it's a little bit more of a defensive gesture than with the Russian one fighter we've just seen in the fight before. A few exchanges, very careful, very fast these fighters. Point I would like to make, I'd like to make everybody take note of their armor. Their armor is optimized for duels and not Buhurt. Of course, if you're a Buhurt and duel fighter, you already know this, that it's pretty difficult to fight a set of duels in full-on Buhurt kit that weighs over 20 kilos. A lot of these guys and girls are wearing titanium kit with only half legs and just really trying to shave as much weight off as possible, having very light shoulder pieces and very light titanium kit in the sort of tens of kilograms range, just so you can move faster and you can fence faster. It's no wonder that they call this fencing in Russian. So anyway, the girls keep on going. Again, good distance by both fighters. Again, we can see the translation of the school to their clubs. I do, yeah, so again, shots are being exchanged. Again, parry and riposte system. These athletes have trained quite a lot to just try and get the speed to try and block their opponent and riposte every single time. They're almost inviting their opponent to hit them and then riposte. And then we end up in a little bit of a grapple, which is a little bit of a no-no, but they get out of it quite quickly. Again, keeping the distance. Again, parry and riposte, as we can notice. And both fighters are really working very hard at each other, trying to shut down. Of course, the styles are quite similar. So, you know, I think the better fighter, she'll win. Marshak, the head marshal, the head bumblebee, for which we all love him, resets the fight. Again, controlling the distance, defensive posture. Again, both fighters seem to be reactionary fighters. I'm going to go, I think Tatiana charges in. And again, it results in a grapple. So, it's a very difficult fight to judge because the fighters are so well matched. Yeah. And again, we're just trying to get... We see a little bit of a transition here towards the second half of the round, where we had our fighters start off with quite a long distance of engagement, and now we really see them try and close in. And what we see is, if I just rewind a little back and we'll watch that again, we've got fighters reset, long distance, few exchanges, and there we go. The fighter in the black brigandine charges in and tries to get the better of that grapple. So we have a immediate change of tactics there, because it appears that if for the first half of the match those long distance tactics maybe haven't worked out for so well, and that's the second point why the Russians are really good. They're very adaptive with their fighting style. There will be a reactionary fighter if it suits them, if they can control the aggressive fighter from the other team. But if it's not working, they're very happy to get stuck in and start hitting people really hard. There we go. Again, there we go. The other fighter, of course, unfortunately goes down to her feet, but I think she does manage to land a few of those blows in quite well. And the fighters are resting, and that's the end of that round. And it's really great to see the women's part of the sport grow so well in the recent years. This is taken from the 2015 tournament in Czech Republic on Petrin Hill, an absolutely lovely place. But anyway, let's go to fight number 3. So here we go again, more Russians v Russians. So first of all, I've got Sergei Okolov versus Eugene Lapic, Russia 1 versus Russia 3. They're from different clubs, so you know there's quite a little bit of prestige on the line. And again, I quite like Sergei Okolov's fighting style. It's very adaptive, very fast. You know, he's a multiple world champion, so I think we can all learn a little bit from him. Hopefully, you know, if you're in Russia, go visit that club. It's pretty cool. But I do think actually Eugene Lapic takes this fight away from him. But certainly we'll just look at the longsword part here, and we're here to learn. So for us, it doesn't matter who wins or loses. These are absolutely top-notch fighters. And again, we see a slight, again, migration of style in our previous match, where Okolov was facing the Ukrainian fighter. We again saw that long-distance engagement. And here, we can see that Eugene Lapic just doesn't want Okolov get away with it. Okolov is backing away, trying to keep his distance, but Eugene Lapic corners him slightly. And Okolov is forced to defend on the spot where he can't back away, and we have a very aggressive Eugene Lapic just try and wail for those thighs and the head. A lot of fighters, obviously, thighs and the head are the main target zones for one-on-one fighting because they give you the most impressive scoring points and the easiest for the martials to see, really. So again, Sergei Okolov trying to keep distance, but Lapic is just staying on him and just wailing on those thighs. Sergei Okolov is mitigating that quite well. He's trading a lot of those thigh shots for the head shots, and I would rather be hit on the thigh than the head personally. It's going to rattle me a little bit less in the long distance. Fight is reset. And there we go. Sergei Okolov is not backing away anymore. He's trying to control the clinch. Again, he changes his fighting style. In the second part, he really wants to engage on his own terms and not let his opponent get the best of him. So he stays in that pocket of the fight, and he just tries to mitigate the aggression in the lower quarters of the one-on-one duel. So he essentially just tries to hit his opponent in the head and try and block as many of his thigh shots as possible by being close. Because again, being hit in the head really sucks. So yeah, we'll see that. He lands a few good shots on the head there. Again, let's just rewind that slightly. So fight is reset. Sergei Okolov staying in. Shot on the head. Another shot on the head. Couple more. There we go. A couple more. And of course, that is the danger. If you start going for the thighs, you're always leaving the back of your head exposed. Eugene Lapic, of course, managing to score a lot of those good points on the thighs. So in terms of points, it's very difficult to judge, and it's up to the experienced night marshal to decide who scored more points, and we've got side judges and lots of representation. Nice to see such great crowds in Prague as always. Yeah. As the talented commentator is pointing out, the fighters are getting a bit tired. It's quite warm in Prague. These fighters are wearing very, very light kit. Again, if I just point out, Wisby Brigandine, very light spaulders, very light rebraces, certainly a lighter version of the helmet, and I really like Sergei Okolov's nasal helmet because it's got all that mail and it allows you to breathe really, really well. I thought the clap visor won by the other fighter is also quite favoured by our one-on-one fighters, but he's got a very similar rig to Sergei Okolov. He's got very thin gamson, very thin shoulders, and yeah, certainly very light legs it will be. Alright, so cool. Point 3, again, fight on your own merit and fight on your own style. Change your fighting tactics if it's not working out for you. Point 4, wear light armor. And so let's move to our 4th video of the day, which shall be, surprise, 2016 Duel finals of the Battle of the Nations. So in 2016, we've got Sergei Okolov versus Alexei Petrik. Again, these guys are pretty much giants of the sport by a modern-day standard. They completely demolished all their opposition at the Battle of the Nations, and quite rightfully so. So it'd been really interesting to see how these two fighters bring their fighting styles. I do believe Sergei Okolov is from Moscow, and Alexei Petrik is from St. Petersburg. Very two strong schools, slightly different. And again, so what we've done is we've seen Battle of Nations from 2014 up to 2016 now, so we'll see how the Russian fighting style is changing with times. So previously we've seen Russians keep distance, and Alexei Petrik's charging in, and already we see a much more physical fight going down straight away. Lots of almost semi-grappling. Alexei Petrik is just trying to get his sword one-handed and just try and deal up the damage. Sergei Okolov is shut down by Petrik, but Marshak is breaking up the fight. Very, very physical fighting in the pocket. I'd also like to point out that the list is a lot smaller this time, so the fighters do have a lot of less space to maneuver. But we see that very interesting transition from 2014 to 2016, where the fighters do less fencing and start doing almost more pro fight type stuff here. And it's not surprising because pro fight, with the proliferation of the M1 Night Fighting League, which has been hugely successful so far and very popular on the internet. Who doesn't like to watch M1? It's also very fantastic. So the sort of proliferation of pro fights maybe start to affect these fighter styles quite significantly. And again, lots of grappling, fighting in that pocket, lots of very strong hits, much stronger than what we've seen before. So these are coming in as body blows rather than point scoring blows a lot of the time. Both fighters go down. Again, much more physical confrontation than what we've traditionally seen before. Fighters reset. Again, strong blows, Patrick versus Okolov. Again, although we do see the original elements of block versus block and riposte coming there from Sergei Okolov, trying to score those thigh hits, and Patrick being very aggressive with almost a pro fight type style where he just really wants to get there in the pocket and work his opponent and tire him out. Alexei Patrick looks a little bit taller here, but of course it's hard to judge people in armor. Both of these guys are supreme athletes. The Russians train very hard. A lot of people have a CrossFit background or some kind of sports background. They certainly don't drink. They take this sports competition very, very seriously, so the training really comes into handy. And of course, Russia has a high degree of military training also amongst its male populace, which certainly helps with, the fighting. Very strong martial arts culture. Fight is broken up, and it's a little bit harder to say. We see Galina there helping Alexei Patrick, because I do believe they're from the same club. Some highlights there. Again, excellent blocking skills and riposte skills by Sergei Okolov. Most of Alexei Patrick's aggression being shut down there in the highlight reel, which is really good to see. But then Patrick again adjusts his style and just starts fighting in that pocket with that sort of semi grapple. That's a little bit indicative of pro fight rules and falchion tactics rather than longsword. So, Battle of Nations and stuff, and duels, Russians, one-on-ones. What did we learn? Of course, this is quite a brief video by comparison. We've looked at 4 fights. We've looked at longsword only so far because originally I was going to do a video on all sorts of duel stuff, but again, 3 very distinct styles and lots of different points. So I just thought I'd just go over longsword today and just cover the main points. And the main points so far are 1, stamina. Stamina is incredibly important for all one-on-one fights. You have 1-minute rounds and you've got 3 of them. And if you get tired, you will just get hit repeatedly and lose many points. It doesn't matter how well you were doing, and if you gas in the last 10 seconds, you're just giving those points away. A lot of fights are pretty close. They're 2-3 points up, you're winning. 2, so what do the Russians really excel at? Yeah, the stamina and the physical regimen too. They're very fast as a result of that also. They really have the speed to control the fight, and that's what they actually excel at. Is they excel at controlling the fight. They excel at controlling the distance. If they're winning, they want to be far away, and they just riposte you with their speedy strikes. If you're getting in and close and they can't get away from you, they'll get in close and hit you up real good. So I think we can learn a lot from studying these fighters, and they're world champions for a reason. So yeah, adapt your armor, fight on one-on-ones, practice the blocking and riposting, work with the pedals, train a lot and train hard, and fight your friends on a regular basis. Right, well, this is my first of the Battle of Nations videos. Hopefully there'll be a lot more of me reviewing 21s and more one-on-ones and 5-on-5s. Big thanks to the Battle of Nations for letting me use their footage. I am the Flower of Chivalry, so thanks for watching and stay tuned for more videos. I'll try and put them out weekly. Let me know what you know in the comments. Give a like to my Facebook page and stay tuned. And be excellent to each other. See you later, guys.